What do you think how this podcast industry has evolved over the years?
In the last 8 or 10 years, more globally, it's also become a means of entertainment. The short form content game has been mastered by a lot. Can't go from 1 to 100 in a year. It's a progression, and that's how you have to treat even that vocation. To focus on the content. Content has to be 50-60% of the reason. You need to have gone through ups and downs.
Hello everyone. Namaskar. Welcome back to Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek Mittal. Career Chronicles ka this is going to be one of the episodes, right? हमने different guests बुलाए हैं, different बातें करी हैं, different career profiles के बारे में जाना है. But today we will be talking about something new, something out of editorial within the media industry. We have Aditya Kuber with us. He wears multiple hats. He has done multiple stints as an entrepreneur. He has worked with multiple organizations. He has more than 24 years of experience and worked in media industry throughout his life, but in different roles. We'll hear more about those different roles from him directly. So let's welcome Aditya Kuber to the show. Aditya.
Hi Abhishek. Thanks so much. Pleasure to be on the show.
Welcome to the show, Aditya. And thanks for agreeing to us, for joining us. Aditya, जैसे इंट्रोडक्शन में हमने बात करी कि media industry में आपने almost 24 years you are already there.
Yeah.
So before we get there, would like to know कि आपकी journey कैसी रही?
To some extent planned थी. To some extent accidental थी.
Okay.
So when I started के career में क्या करना है, when you're 17, 18, there was an interest towards the visual arts. So I started out as a photographer, like 98, 99 में. Photography किया, professionally photography सीखी, worked as a photographer for newspapers, did a lot of other related industrial shoots किए, fashion shoots किए, all of that was done. And then somewhere एक writing का भी interest था. And over a period of 4 or 5 years, writing took over from being a photographer. And उसके बाद realized that writing is, just one small part of it. If you really want to grow in this industry, you need to be able to understand all the different facets. So how does money flow into an organization in the media space? What are the opportunities for growing a publication? And I'm talking at a time when magazines and newspapers were still very relevant. People used to buy annual subscriptions to magazines. वो भी sell किए, by the way, खड़े रह के कि 1 साल का subscription खरीद लो सर, इसके साथ ये free मिलेगा, आपकी पूरी value वापस आ जाएगी.
Sports Star मुझे अच्छे से याद है उस समय.
So magazines were very relevant. Newspapers were very big. So became a content and media manager, so to speak, understanding content strategy, content planning. And then around mid 2000s, switched into the digital space with Yahoo and a few other global brands. So media I've been in the digital space since almost 2005, 2006 and seen that transition of print from being where it was to where it is now. I wouldn't want to say whether it's good or bad because it's very evolutionary. You never know when it'll come back and become relevant again.
Yeah.
It's not that it's irrelevant, but it's just playing a very different role today. It's more of a brand than a medium for all media houses today. So got into this space and have very honestly, just the way media has evolved, continued to evolve, went with the flow in a lot of cases. Ki, acha, digital is hot. Let's find a way to work in digital, see where it goes. Did advertising. Did a fair bit of .com, e-commerce, all of that. So it's been a very interesting, fun journey. But the advantage is because you've worked in different verticals within the same industry, you're able to apply it at different points in time. You're able to continue to learn and apply learnings from one place into another. It's somewhere easier, quicker to be able to adapt to a change. So that I think is the biggest learning from my career so far.
Great. So बहुत कुछ different किया है. जैसे मैंने स्टार्टिंग में बोला कि मीडिया इंडस्ट्री there is outside of editorial we have so many options, right? And the objective of this conversation is to understand कि क्या क्या career options है in media as a broader space. I know we are talking about very broad space, but if you can throw some light that what are the good opportunities which are there for people who are joining into this field.
Sure. So usually, everyone is chasing education which allows them to become hireable, have some job relevance or some relevance in the job market. And no matter what you learn, you can always find some space in the media industry. So even if you've done a bachelor's degree in physics or chemistry, today there's an opportunity to turn that into a media career because you have vertical depth. And where and how you apply that depends on you now. So because we live in an age where solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, all types of opportunities exist, how you're able to use your own knowledge to turn that into a media career is very interesting. So in traditional media organizations, let's say a television channel or a newspaper channel or even a .com for that matter, the journey is somewhat similar, where you start at the bottom, whether you're in sales, whether you're in editorial, whether you're in operations, design. These are your typical sort of departments, and then variations and combinations of it across the board. As a solopreneur, though, which I think is a really, really emerging opportunity for a lot of young people.
Yes.
Say the creator economy and a subject matter expertise. That's something which I'm really, really keen and passionate about, because that allows for a variety of voices. Okay. I think a lot of your passion, education, understanding, and interest can today be clubbed into one to turn you into a media professional. So I would say, if you're looking for a career in the media, be open to going with the flow. Let's say you come from a finance background and you're a CA. Doesn't mean you have to work only in the finance department in the media. You can still become a financial expert on the editorial side, but for that you need to add editorial skills to yourself. You can also become a very strong presenter if you are confident of being in front of the camera. But again, you'll need to add those skills. So starting with a core and then adding on to that is the best way to grow in the media space. If you're only going to say, I'm a finance guy and I will not do anything but finance, then you will find a nice place for yourself in the finance department. But then don't complain if it gets boring.
Yeah, I think then this goes with, like, you have a one skill and then you marry it with the passion or what you would like to do, right? You can easily get into that. It's a marriage of two skills.
Absolutely.
So can be a finance person if you like media, and within that editorial, as you said, you can bring those two together and be a successful.
And we've seen so many of these, right? There's a lot of people today who've become financial advisors online as creators.
Yes.
They come with a very strong financial understanding and a background of it. And they were able to marry their passion for storytelling, maybe.
Yes.
Their ability to be narrative, be exuberant and expressive in front of a camera. And they've made a career out of that. They're probably all still practicing as a CA or practicing as a financial advisor as well. So why not have the best of both? And that, I think, is possible in just about every vertical that you can find.
Yeah, because I read somewhere, like solopreneur you talked about, right? There are a lot of video editors who have made it a successful career out of it. Why? Because they connected with some of the content creators and they are supporting them, and somehow those content creators become very famous.
Yeah.
And now they charge lakhs rupees for every video editing.
No, absolutely. I mean, see, lakhs of rupees is probably takes time, effort, and a big name for yourself. But just the ability as a single entrepreneur, the benefits, and it's a very romantic notion, to be honest, that I'm a solopreneur or I'm a freelancer. It's a lot of hard work.
Yes.
Because the one thing to realize is you have finite hours in a day. You are committed to delivering a certain quality without which you will not grow.
Yes.
You cannot really grow by having 50 clients as a freelancer. You can't service them meaningfully. So your growth is going to come from servicing existing clients very well and upping the value that you're earning from each of them. So your growth is not in the number of clients, but how much more is an existing client willing to pay you because you're indispensable to them. So that mindset is what needs to come. A lot of freelancers or solopreneurs typically start out seeking more in terms of, I want more projects.
Yes.
Rather than going deeper and saying, I will give greater value in this project so that I'm securing repeat business from a client, and over a period of time, I'm able to increase the income. You can't go from 1 to 100 in a year. It is a natural progression, just the way it would happen in a job. You can't go from being, a junior associate to a CEO in 2 years. It's a progression, and that's how you have to treat even that vocation.
Great. Thanks a lot for sharing that, Aditya. Aditya, moving on to the podcasts, right, which is your recent, the last one. I will not say recent, but your last journey where you have now like set up for some time. Now you are here for at least 3-4 years, but you have a good experience in podcast from the last 8 years, right? What do you think how this podcast industry has evolved over the years?
It's continuing to evolve. And it's been a very interesting evolution where about 8 years ago, when India was just starting to understand what are podcasts, I can assure you all the podcasters in India fit on a single page of a notebook.
Yes.
There were just about 25 of them. Most people didn't even know what was a podcast, forget where you could listen to it. From there to today, where podcasting has become a career for creators and for a lot of others, it's been a huge jump in just 8 years. What we've seen along the way is a lot of big international players have jumped in, have changed the whole industry, have been disruptive in a good and in a bad way. And the whole evolution continues in the sense it's started out as being pure play audio. It was a space where people would converse, much like we are doing right now. And the intent was, let's share information, let's be more educational.
Yeah.
In the last 8 or 10 years, more globally, it's also become a means of entertainment. People are consuming very, very high quality, well-researched content in either the fiction or the non-fiction spaces. And now this whole shift to video, over the last few years, video has continued to move into spaces you wouldn't expect it to. For a long time, we all thought podcasts was secure and, beyond video's reach, but not anymore. So video has finally also moved into that space. And it's good because what we've also seen happen is a lot of audiences connect a little better when they're able to see the people that they like. And the basic tenets of podcasting haven't changed. Why does anyone listen to podcasts is for entertainment, for education, for learning. And who they listen to depends on how can they trust that person. So that direct connection, which used to be very in your ear, now is also in your face. And that's great. Now, where it goes from here, it's a little bit of a guesswork because it's in a bit of a flux situation. Videos are coming in a very strong way over the last 12 months. Audio is continuing to grow at the same time. So how these two will balance each other out, it remains to be seen. And I believe that some formats of podcasts will do well in video before, rather than only in audio. But there are some formats which will stay audio because there's a reason why people like audio only. The whole passive consumption space, it's non-intrusive in your day-to-day activities.
Right.
Those characteristics will not go away. And that's why it'll continue to have a very strong space as audio only. But as video, there's definitely room for a lot more experimentation, a lot more creators coming into it. So it's exciting times for podcasting.
So again, now the podcast or vodcast, whatever we call it, right? A video.
Let's not call it a vodcast. I really don't think that. Might as well just call it a video show or a video podcast. Right.
There is only one platform of video podcasts right now, YouTube, right? Do you see there are more such platforms will come up or will not be able to disrupt, like Microsoft, MS Office has, there is no other disruption there. Similar to that, YouTube will not have anything else.
Spotify has already gone in there. Spotify is starting to distribute video content. It's available in a few markets, including India now. As it continues, as more content is being created, it's a demand supply situation right now. There's enough supply now for audio content. Video will catch up eventually in the podcast space. And Spotify has become a very real distribution point for that. The whole consumption cycle for podcasts today also starts on Instagram, where Reels is a very, very strong way to discover a podcast. The attention span argument aside, if I come across a piece of content for 30-40 seconds and I can consume it and I'm like, maybe I can connect with this creator, I'm going to seek him out in the longer format, which is YouTube or eventually Spotify. So that movement has already started. Will other platforms or will other medium or outlets come around to grow video? It's going to be harder because YouTube has a near monopoly today in that space. And I think it's not a very bad thing, but any new platform entering this space will have to identify an answer and plan for is how does the monetization work for a creator, which is where YouTube has a massive head start and a massive lead because they've answered a lot of these questions. So for any content piece going into video, YouTube becomes a natural extension because monetization as a problem is already answered.
Right. I think that's one question which I have. It's like, is this podcast industry has been just looked at as a commercializable hobby, or it's really an industry?
So I'll give you some numbers. Okay. About 2017, India had close to 4 million podcast listeners. And this was also second-hand data. It was sort of derivative from some global reports. Today, there is anywhere between 80 to 90 million podcast consumers. I don't think an industry gets to this scale if it's a hobby.
Okay.
Look at the kind of creators that exist. It started out as being a hobby because some guy wanted to share whatever he or she knew.
Yeah.
But the creators that exist today are professional, either creators or professionals in another space. And see, a hobby is something which you do in your downtime. There are people making time to creating this content. There are people making time in their day-to-day life to say, I want to do this because A, it helps me build my own profile. B, it helps me scratch that itch about sharing knowledge.
Yes.
And 3, it allows me to actually nurture my own talent and skills, whether as a storyteller, whether as an interviewer, whether as a researcher, whatever it is that I want to do.
Yeah.
It's definitely no longer a hobby. It can start out as that for a lot of people, but the ones who really go forward are the ones who are committed to the craft and committed to seeing themselves grow in the space.
Okay, that's good to know, because I think I will say even I started this journey 4 to 5 months back, and I have not started this as a hobby. I just want to give back to society.
Yeah.
So that's how I wanted to be consistent with that. I just don't want to monetize right now, but maybe in the future, why not? Right.
Yeah.
So that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Now it comes to like when someone wants to pick up this as not just as an hobby, but really as a career option, right? And naturally, the person needs to find a niche of what exactly they want to share with their audience. What are the 3-4 aspects which they should look at once a person is wants to start this journey of podcasting?
I think the first question to ask is, why should someone listen to me? If you're putting out yet another podcast, which is just going to be a conversation, what are you talking about? Are you solving a problem? It's not to say that don't do another show in a genre that exists.
Yeah.
But are you able to find a differentiation? A lot of podcasts initially, when they moved to video, were more focused on how am I looking. And that's not the intent of the podcast.
Yes.
The richness of content that can come out of a podcast is what the focus needs to be. You have to focus on the content. Content has to be 50-60% of the reason why someone is coming to you, which goes back to the point to say, how good are you at the topic you are picking?
Right.
How good is your research? And if you're doing a guest-based show, are you able to get good guests who are helping you further this agenda? Very important for every creator is to also accept that they may not be immediately ready for a medium and that they have to take efforts.
Right.
Okay. Taking the effort on being a good speaker, doing hard work on the research, being able to present your thoughts lucidly, very clearly, and in a simple enough language that a large populace can understand is very important. So unlike, it's easy with tools today. Everyone thinks that, I have a mobile phone, I can start a podcast. I strongly recommend them to try, see what the feedback they get is, and work on that. So first question, why should someone listen to you? Second, am I really helping someone by doing this? If not, you're adding to the noise, very honestly.
Yes.
Not to say don't try it, but keep evolving. You could start out with a very generic podcast or a very generic topic, evolve into being more specific, grow with your audience, listen to the feedback. Try and be authentic and first-hand in the information you provide. Okay. So if you're going to do, let's say, a sports-based podcast, do you have something original to say? And even if it is an opinion, why should your opinion matter? If you're a fan like everyone is of some sport,
Yes.
what is your insight that you're able to offer that differs from the others? So that is the niche rather than the topic. how you present your content and how you are able to build an audience is where the niche today lies. Because for every given topic, you'll have hundreds of experts, but not everyone is able to express themselves. Not everyone is able to build an audience. If you can solve for these two, the topic becomes secondary.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now moving on to recent journey where you have started Bingepods or Idea
Right.
Brews, right? So what exactly you are doing here, and how people can also benefit from it?
So we started out as an audio production house. We also went on to build India's largest podcast network. We manage a little over 600 shows today. We work with a very wide range of creators like yourself, media houses, publishers, individual creators, brands. What we're building here is a content studio now. Okay. And the objective is, can we connect creators to brands, creators to audiences? How do we close that circle of someone having a story to tell and someone wanting to listen to that story? At a very base level, it's that objective which we are chasing. At a higher level, if you like, what is the business opportunity here?
Yes.
Okay, production houses abound. There's one at every corner, but most of them are not able to strategize for content. Now, I don't mean this in a flippant manner, but it's not very hard today to find a production crew to shoot a podcast.
Yes.
What to shoot is where the challenge lies. So putting up a set and getting two people in front of a camera and a mic, fair enough. But how do you grow that? How do you make a meaningful conversation? The short form content game has been mastered by a lot.
Yes.
The very long form format, let us say TV shows, films, again, it's been mastered. But this 20, 30, 40, 50 minute conversation piece or storytelling piece, this is where a lot of brands are starting to see value because of authentic voices, because of information and useful information being given. And we are luckily in a situation where, because we've been in the content space, we've worked with creators who are also looking beyond just production,
Right.
are able to actually offer this and build out a content solution studio. So it's not just the production, but everything that goes before and after.
Okay. So it's a complete life cycle which you are providing to the content creators, right?
And brands.
And brands. Okay. So brands do come to you with the content creators,
Yeah.
or you also work independently with brands as well.
Absolutely. So brands are usually engaging with us with a problem statement point of view. That brand X wants to reach this audience for this kind of product. What's the answer? So it's literally a riddle in most cases, I am a car brand. I want to sell more cars in this geography. This is my price point. What's the answer? And that is the answer which we are usually trying to find for them. Now that can involve finding a creator, that can involve non-creator led content pieces. So anything in the content space is where we live today.
Okay, nice. So it's a good journey, right? So we have reached somewhere at least, and there's a long journey to achieve, right?
The whole evolution of media is never going to stop. With technology and the many forms that it continues to take, this is going to continue and evolve. So we saw short form content come to life maybe 5 years ago. Over the last 2-3 years, it's gone back to a little longer in its format. Where will it go next? What is the role that AI will probably play? How much will it replace either a creator or those who are helping a creator?
Right.
Whether it is from a research, a writing, a production point of view. And what is the role that we have to play? Will AI help or hurt? Remains to be seen. But AI is still one part of it, The final story to AI is still based on existing knowledge. It's not really creating the experiences. So long as humans continue to have experiences, there's always room for media to grow.
As you said, right? Podcast is growing.
Absolutely.
From those 7 million to 90 million, it's a big journey. So what all areas people can explore?
So if you think of the whole content ecosystem, podcasts today has a role for everyone in that ecosystem.
Okay.
Now, whether it is someone who does research, and that can be subject matter expertise, someone who's a writer, to convert research into a script is an art.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a lot of training that goes into making an art out of that. You then have skill-based tasks, like a sound engineer, a video editor, a production professional. There's also a lot of people-based opportunities. So talent management is a talent unto itself. You need tons of patience, the ability to be extroverted, the ability to spend time with people, to make new friends every time, be a part of their life, yet retain your own life. So these are some of the immediate opportunities, traditional career opportunities, like I said, in finance, in sales, in marketing, all of those exist. How much breadth of content, breadth of understanding rather, are you coming with is always more valuable. So if you are someone who spent 5 years in a financial institution because you're a CA and then were a writer and now want to start a podcast, you're actually much ahead of the race because you've already straddled two industries. You have a subject matter expertise. You also have some experience in reaching out to people. So for you, planning content and executing it becomes a little more natural. That gives you a massive head start to have a career in media.
Okay, great. Thanks. Aditya, one last question before we close this section. Recently, we have seen a lot of young people who are coming into this podcasting or content creation field. They don't, as you said, right? If you have 5 years experience, then you are sharing something, you're already achieved something, right? But there are people who are fresh out of school or fresh out of college. They haven't seen the life much, or वो इस field में कूद पड़ते हैं. So what exactly your take on this?
So if at 21 you're doing a life experiences show and you have an audience, it's slightly worrying. But as a creator, it's enthusiasm. There is some opportunity for a few people to make a little money. It's not something that will last forever. Okay, for anyone who comes with aspirations, at 20 I will start an Instagram handle or a YouTube channel, and by 22 I'll be a millionaire. Highly unlikely. There's always outlier cases, but in most cases it doesn't happen. You're more than welcome to start a career or a journey of being a creator at 2021, so long as you're prepared to keep working at it and realize that it's going to take a few years before you make it. Most of the creators who made it and stayed there have had a long journey.
Right.
It's that old saying that overnight success takes a lot of time. So you will always have to put in the effort. There is absolutely no substitute for that. There's always flashes in the pan, but then flashes in the pan also die out. So be prepared for the long haul. Absolutely no substitutes for that.
Okay, great. Because I think it's very important to address it. Right now, a lot of young people have been influenced by a lot of new content creators who are successful, let's say at the age of 30, 35, 40, right? And they see them and they say, oh, okay, मैं भी कर सकता हूँ और मैं अभी से शुरू करता हूँ. करो, बट जितना थोड़ी सी लाइफ की अंडरस्टैंडिंग, थोड़ा सा टॉपिक की अंडरस्टैंडिंग होना बहुत जरूरी है.
I mean, you have to go through some stuff to be able to share the do's and don'ts. Again, I'm not belittling anyone who may have found a way to share. Great, more power to you. But in general, you will reach a point where you can't share anymore because you've run out of experiences. So you also need to keep your own learning going.
Right.
Your learning will start when you go out into the world, and that's not necessarily whether you're working in a job or whether you're doing a business of your own, whatever it is. Once you're out in the world, once you're responsible for yourself financially, physically, mentally, in all of those aspects, that is when your real learning starts. How you cope with all of that and continue to grow, that is what defines experience. And to actually get some meaningful experience, you need to have gone through ups and downs. So at 20, most people maybe come from some level of protected backgrounds, especially in the Indian sort of family systems. So for them to start sharing wisdom might be a little early. I do strongly urge to get some real world experience, and maybe you have a way to share. It will be far more meaningful when you do it after that.
Thanks, Aditya. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for putting a stamp on it that yes, it's possible, but it takes time. You have to be consistent and you have to show that journey.
Absolutely.
It's not a one day overnight thing. So guys, with this, we are closing the section one of this episode. So if you like it, please do like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you are hearing us on a audio podcast platform, then do follow us. We aim to bring more such episodes and more such conversations to you. So guys, please share your feedback so that we can bring more insightful thoughts and conversations with you. So Aditya, with this, we'll move on to the second part of this, which is more of knowing you rather than discussing on this
so I can
topic.
relax.
Yes, you can relax. Okay. So Aditya, now for you, what exactly success is?
Oh, so many definitions. And success it's always difficult, right? Success is when you don't need anyone else to tell you that you're successful. When you don't no longer seek that external validation of whether you're successful or not, is when you're truly successful, I think. And I wouldn't count it in money. I wouldn't count it in material owning belongings, any of that. It's when, and not a philosophical answer, but when I know that I no longer need to really prove anything to anyone and what someone else thinks of me doesn't matter, is when I would say that yes, I've been successful at whatever I'm doing, life, personally or professionally.
Okay. Yes, I think that's important, right? किसी का validation नहीं चाहिए, आप खुद खुश हो.
Yeah.
That's success for a lot of people. I think that's for you as well. मैंने आपकी टीम से सुना है, आप बहुत मेहनत करते हो, बहुत काम करते हो.
अच्छा.
Right? हाँ. तो unwind करने के लिए क्या करते हो?
Unwind करने के लिए, to be very honest, I'm a couch potato. I will spend a lot of time watching TV. It's in the background, but वो थोड़ा fidgety nature है, so don't usually go beyond 20 minutes of anything. And then somewhere something clicks again and off another rabbit hole. But hobbies wise, if you ask me, I play tennis. I love watching movies. I used to be a voracious reader, no longer. I occasionally read now. But yeah, that's how I kind of wind down.
Which is the last book you have read?
You Are the Obstacle by Ryan Holiday. It's a good one that teaches you how you should get out of your own way. How you could be the thing that's actually holding yourself back when you, in fact, are thinking it's everyone else. So yeah, that was a bit of one of the few self-help books I have ever read. It came highly recommended and I'm happy I read it.
So, आपने multiple stints करें अपने career में, right?
Yeah.
You started working for an organization, then you build up your own business, you sold it. Again, you work for organizations. Again, you are building your own business. सबसे ज़्यादा मजा किस में आता है?
दोनों में आता है. The best fun about having a job is when you know कि 30 तारीख को SMS आएगा. But the satisfaction is much higher when you're building something. You know, there's a lot of frustration also with that. There's a lot of challenges, mostly sleepless nights. But there is that when something works out that you've tried to put together, even if it's a project, the sleep that night is fantastic. You know, okay, इसमें बहुत मेहनत गई है, this has worked out and I'm happy about it. And this can happen even when you are pitching for a big project and you win it. उसकी excitement अलग होती है. So when you're running your own business, it's like you're actually doing multiple jobs at the same time.
Yes.
So satisfaction comes from different places. So it's a difficult answer. There's nothing wrong in doing either having a full-time job or running your own business. I enjoy the business side of things very honestly.
हाँ, जब सारा कंट्रोल आपके पास है और खूब मेहनत करने को मिलती है.
It's not about that. More than the control, it's the freedom sometimes that you have. कि यार, I want to try this. Let's see where it goes. And we do that every now and then. कि चल देखते तो है. What's the worst? Won't work out.
Great. Thanks, Aditya. Thanks for joining us on the show. And it was great talking to you. I hope our audience will understand that there is a lot of opportunities which are there in this field as well.
I hope so. Thanks so much for having. It's a pleasure chatting with you.
Yep. Thanks, Aditya.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this was our episode with Aditya Kuber. बहुत सारी बात करी है. Again, ये एक ऐसा area है जहाँ पे recently even I am trying to find myself, which is in media, in podcast. So बहुत कुछ सीखने को भी मिला उनसे, and बहुत सारी बात करी कि इस फील्ड में outside of just a content creation and be an editorial space, there's so many areas where you can work on. So guys, please look at this space if you are passionate about it, and if you can bring some complementary skills onto this space. Just don't jump into it because it looks very fancy. So just focus on that you have a perseverance, you have a consistency, you have a skill set to back up, you have some experience to share with your audiences if you are getting into podcast space. So these are things which we need to look at. And if you're watching us and if you are hearing us on audio platforms, so do follow us. If you're watching us, please like, share, and subscribe, and share your feedback so that we can bring more interesting topics and can share those wisdoms with you. So guys, for a time being, I'm signing off from Wisdom Whispers with Abhishek Mittal. We'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you.